IVM.
Hello and welcome to the Habit Coach podcast. I am Ashdin, doctor, your habit coach. And today with us for a second time, we have Dr. Varalakshmi. And if you haven't heard the first episode, please go listen to it because it was fascinating. We spoke about how her passion for Ayurveda started and we spoke about gut health in particular. So please go listen to this. Today's episode is all about women's health because I think that is another very, very expansive topic and a very important topic for today's day and age. It is also important for men to be hearing this and not just let go, acha, women's health, to matlab men she need to switch off from this podcast. It's so important because we all have women in our life. We have mothers, we have sisters, we have wives, we have girlfriends, we have so many people. We need to know about these things and it's important to spread the awareness. So Dr. Varalakshmi, welcome to the Habit Coach podcast for a second time.
Thank you so much for having me, Ashdin. I'm looking forward to another, lovely conversation with you.
Superb. Doctor, you said you work so much in this world of women's health. And I'm very curious to, jump straight into it because it's such an expansive topic. So when I say women's health, what are the things that typically come to mind? Like, what are the aspects of women's health that you see needs the most amount of work?
So I think one of the common and, absolutely everybody at one point I faced as a girl as well, or the menstrual irregularities or something to do with the menstrual problems, one or the other problems. And then PMS, which is premenstrual syndrome, like all the pain, mood swings, all the terrible problems that, I see a lot of teenage girls and even women who are adults as well go through. That is one other thing that comes to mind. And then the key aspect is to do with fertility issues, whether, unable to, conceive or having trouble to conceive, all the problems surrounding the fertility. And then menopause. Menopause is another biggest and huge topic, which I think most women even don't realize that they're going through menopause. So it requires a lot of education. Nowadays, a little bit information is there in Western countries like UK and US, but I think in India, still women need to accept this. And like you said, for women at every stage of women's health, the supporting structure, the family, the men in their life are very important and play a huge role, whether it's the menstruation or, fertility or the menopause. Every step of the way, women do need that support. So yes, men also need to hear this episode so that they can, be best support for their ladies in their life.
Love it. Love it. So doctor, let's start right from the beginning. Let's talk about what you said, which is PMS, right? Yes. One is, what should an ideal PMS be like? If somebody was completely healthy, what should that PMS be like?
So if somebody is healthy, we cannot use the term PMS for them because PMS itself is a disease or a condition, okay? Because this is such a, important topic, Ashdin. I cannot say because as a teenage girl and until I studied Ayurveda and I started practicing Ayurveda, until that moment, say maybe when I was 24 years old, until that moment, I thought that period is a time where I'm supposed to feel terrible. I'm supposed to be in pain. I'm supposed to be suffering for something I don't know what I did. So this is the same feeling that most women I start to work with think. And even the conversations I have with women who have teenage daughters, they think the same. Oh, my daughter will have mood swings because she is getting her period, or my daughter will have pain. So they are realizing that they need support, but what they don't understand is this is not normal for you to suffer during period. Period will have some discomfort because we do have hormones, and then it is a natural process, but it's supposed to be slight discomfort. You're not supposed to feel like you need to take it off from your work or from your school or college. So a healthy period or healthy period we can say is the one where you will have slight discomfort, no problem or nothing to do with your mood or energy levels. So you will be feeling completely normal, but you will feel, for example, sometimes if we did not sleep the other day or, earlier night, you get a slight headache, right? You should feel that much of slight discomfort. It should not be more than that. Anything to do with your energy or pain or anything, everything should be mild. So that is what we called a healthy period or a person with no PMS will have no symptoms to do with any discomfort actually.
So, doctor, I'm so happy you spoke about this because this is something that is so true, and I really wish people understand this. So, I grew up in a college where there were 3 boys and 120 girls in my
Oh
class.
my God.
Okay. So all my friends are girls. And I've obviously from that young age, from 16 onwards, I have heard about all kinds of PMS that they were going through and everything. And I've seen some people go through the worst possible. And there were a couple who just like couldn't figure out what was wrong with everybody else because they weren't going through that. And like you said, it is essential that we get to that stage of health where we don't have PMS, where we have period that the period starts. But with the PMS is not necessary to be there. And for many listening to the podcast, obviously they're going to have 2 thoughts about it. One is saying, why is Ashdin telling me about his period? And I don't have a period. But the second important one is about the fact saying that can we actually not have PMS? And I think that itself is such a realization for people who are listening to this. And yes, it's possible. Do your research on it. And if you actually work on yourself, you can have a very, very smooth month.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely. I couldn't agree more. It is a natural, Ayurveda describes it as like, a natural body's natural way of detoxing it because it's a natural physiology. And there are like, prostaglandins are the chemicals that are released, which make a girl's or, women's abdomen get slight contractions. So that's why we feel a slight pain and they can rest. Okay, period is a time which where we are supposed to take some rest or chill pill we call them in Ayurveda says because vata is the dominant dosha. So and doing activities like exercise, too much of talking, too much thinking, worrying, and these kind of things can increase the vata. So ideally what I recommend all the women is that try to think of menstruation or your period as the time where you get a break from all your physical work of that month. Okay, so try to relax as much as possible. Try to become comfortable, read a book that makes you feel better, or, take rest. Don't worry about, oh, I have to go exercise today, things like that. Because once women start to include self care in their daily routine and then avoid too much physical activity, most of the hormonal problems that we face will not be there anymore because female reproductive system is quite tricky in such a way that it does
Very complicated.
yeah it does not agree with all the things that we do like the weight loss things that where you exercise too much. It doesn't agree with that part. It wants us to take more rest. It wants us to be more relaxed and nurtured actually, to put it in a way.
I love what you said because what happens very often is when we get our period, we go through this thought of saying that it is debilitating. I need to stop, right? I need to stop doing everything. But what you're saying, it's not about I need to stop doing everything, but I need to actively relax.
Yes.
And I think relaxation is the key thought, not that I can't do this.
Yes.
It is I'm choosing to relax. And I think that mindset itself is a victory for us. If we can start thinking that way, if we start thinking, this is a time for me to relax, like I said, chill pill, not this is a time to use as an excuse, or to say that, I can't do this, I can't come to work. But it is about relaxation. And I think that difference makes a big,
Yes.
Change.
Yes, absolutely. Because when I tell women that try to relax and all, some come back and say that, okay, I get it that you are saying you don't do exercise and all, but there was once this lady who has a teenage daughter, and she was asking me, okay, my daughter has to go to school, and then she does this some sports or something, where she may not be able to say or take an excuse even when period. Okay, because this is again comes from the taboo of asking somebody and telling them that I'm not feeling well, I want to take a break from one day. This is what I'm saying. It is about a choice end of the day, but there are some people who cannot take a break. For them, what I would say is try not to overstrain your body. Try to catch breaks in between in whatever the work that you're doing. Try to sit somewhere, try to drink something warm, try to enjoy something which makes you feel comfortable. So this is what we need to create a comfort zone during period, and that will actually help us to have a normal period instead of thinking like the way you pointed it out. It's wonderful how you put it actually.
The relaxation thought.
Yes.
I love the point that we are talking about. Don't unnecessarily push yourself. So, for example, if you know you're going to have a hard day tomorrow, don't stay awake at night,
Yes.
right? The night before. Don't have junk food the night before. Don't do anything that is going to add extra strain to your body.
Yes.
It is not anyway, tomorrow is going to be a write off. So let me push as much as I can right now. In fact, you should do as much of the taking care of it before, if you know what your next day is going to look like.
Absolutely. Preparing your body. So, exactly, this is very, very key aspect. I love it, the way you brought that into the conversation because um, what I recommend for women who suffer with this, especially I see this pattern for women who has a very physical strain or, athletes or sports person whom I work with, they can often have severe bleeding or they can often have like very painful period. Okay. And one of the simple thing I tell them is I know that you still have to exercise, you still have to do sports training, weight training, things like that you cannot avoid. But what I tell them is, if you have in a day, for example, like 100 things that you have, your daily tasks or whatever we write down every day, right? What I tell them is make a habit, and every day, as soon as next last night you wrote a list for the things to do today morning or so, then I say next day wake up and strike off one thing. You don't have to do anything extra. Just strike off one task that you are doing that day. So you will have just 99 things to worry about, and you don't have to worry about that one more extra thing, right? So this simple practice, and every day if you do striking of one thing, then that takes off some of the anxiety and stress that we are adding up to the daily tasks or whatever schedules that we. And this makes like amazing change in all the women I work with. Even personally, I do the same thing because every day something will keep coming, and no matter how much we want to say no, sometimes you cannot say no unless you train your mind, and it becomes a habit for you to say no to doing more stuff. Yes.
Correct.
I think that is one simple practice for any woman out there who suffers with health problems, who have hormonal imbalances, or who want to better take care of themselves. This is like the amazing practice. Try to reduce the amount of things that you are doing in your day. You need a break. Your body needs a break. Your mind needs a break. And strike one task and include one self care, something you love to do, sitting, reading a book, watching something you enjoy, do things which make you feel loved and happy.
Superb point. You hit it on the head, because this is exactly what it is. With so many of my clients as well, I see them going through this, what I call Superman pant syndrome, right? Or Superwoman's pant syndrome, which is where they feel that they have to take care of everyone and everything. And if they don't, the world is going to fall apart around. And I know this because I work so closely with my clients on this. And what we do is exactly what you said. Let's break down. What are the things that are absolutely essential? And they'll give us a list. And it's like, no. Absolutely essential. That means the world will stop if you don't do this. The list becomes smaller. Then what are the things that you can outsource? Can I teach my kids to do a little bit of this? Can I teach my husband to do a little bit of this? Can I teach somebody? What are the things I can outsource as much as possible? Right? What are the things that I feel need to be done, but actually really don't need to be done?
Yes.
Correct. Right? Do I need to clean the fans every week? Maybe I don't need to clean the fans every week, right? Maybe I can once a month or twice a month. Let's see. Okay. So we have a lot of those kinds of things also on our list. Things that we feel will make us feel better or look good, but is not actually essential. And adding to that, what you said is something beautiful, which I'm going to steal, and I'm going to do a podcast on it soon, which is remove one task, but add one self-care task. I think if we start doing this as a habit itself, there's such a change that we're going to see in our health.
Yes, absolutely. So, one small thing as a self care or thing is just before going to bed. This is one thing for, I think, even for men or women, because we are all going through this chronic stress. We are leading this like, stress induced bugs or things like that. Every day we get more and more stress added to our list, for both men and women. So, what I say is just applying warm oil on your feet or oil on your feet or moisturizing your feet before going to bed is that small task. for somebody to get used to these kind of things, when I tell them that like include abhyanga or like ayurvedic things, they'll be like very professional. If a professional women come to me, they'll be like, why you want me to apply oil? I don't have time to apply oil on my whole body, they will tell me that. But I
Hmm.
tell them, okay, how about you just apply oil on your feet? Okay, so whole body, forget about it, just the feet is enough. Start with your feet. Then they'll think, oh yeah, this is something I can actually do. It just takes maybe 1 minute. Yeah, I will try that. So what I'm trying to say here is that if you find that including a bigger self-care or taking like 20-minute break or half an hour break every day is something you cannot do, just try to do that 5-minute or 10-minute break. Don't worry about and like think that I can't do this and completely avoid doing something. Instead, go for a small thing which you can actually do and do it consistently. That much is enough for us, right? For the health, I think, as a whole.
Beautiful. Because just this one small thing is going to make such a big difference, especially in our women's health when we're talking about, either periods or fertility, even for that matter, is going to make a big difference. Okay, so we're going to take a small break and then come back into the rest of the podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We'd like to thank the sponsors on our network this week, Seat Tires. So we had a fantastic week. Tune into This Round is on Me, where Gauri Devidayal has a chat with Divya Ravichandran on the issues of waste management in India and how recycling, composting, and using eco-friendly alternatives can help. On Filter Coffee Podcast, Karthik speaks with Lux Narayan about his book Name, Place, Animal, Thing, an inspiring non-fiction fable about hope, positivity, and living your best life. On All Things Policy, Anirudh Kanisetti talks to Pratik Wakre and Rohan Sheth about Australia's conflict with Facebook and Google and what this means for big tech companies and the news ecosystem. On the Simplified Podcast, Naren and Tony talk about greenwashing, which is businesses unfairly marketing themselves as eco-friendly just to ride the sustainability wave. You should also check out the Cyrus Says episode with Varun Deshpande of the Good Food Institute, where they talk about plant-based alternatives. Varun does a great show with us called Feeding 10 Billion. Do check out this episode of Cyrus Says. They have a really interesting conversation. On the Millennial Athlete, Tanvi and Shlok speak to the badminton doubles player Satvik Sairaj about his successful stints at some of the recently concluded games. And with that, let's get you back to your show.
All right, and we're back. And we were just talking about how taking a small restful break, doing something that is good for you in terms of self-care makes a big difference. Doctor, what are the other things that you recommend or Ayurveda recommends in terms of women health and what they should be looking at and focusing on?
Okay, one other thing I want to educate women in general is the misconception is that fats are bad for women's health, or because weight loss is or being in such a the ideal shape or whatever you call it is, we have been brainwashed for, I think, whatever the time period we are watching TVs and all these things. We think that fats are bad for our health. Okay, what I would say is fats are not at all bad for our health. Fats are ideal nutrient that is needed for producing all the hormones, all the female hormones, all the natural hormones that our body needs are composed of fats. So it's important that you include some form of fat in your diet every day. Let it be ghee, or you cook it with oil, or you add it in the form of nuts and seeds like almonds, which are very good fat. But what I'm trying to say is, don't think of fats as bad things. If especially if you suffer with any hormonal imbalances, and if you're feeling weak and tired all the time, that could indicate that you have some nutritional abnormality, so which is coming from your diet. So try to have everything in moderation, but include the important things like fats and carbohydrates. Those are the two things which are usually named as a bad thing for our health, but they are not actually. They're ideal and they're important for our survival, like the protein. Like any other nutrient we need, vitamins, minerals, everything, fats and carbohydrates are also essential part of our diet. So try to include some healthy fats and have a good nourishing meal.
It's so interesting that you say this, because what happens is people associate fat that you put in your mouth with fat that is there on your waist.
Yes.
And the fat that is there on your waist is not the same fat that went into your mouth. The process that your body uses to turn the fat that went into your mouth is not, in fact, it will almost never be used as that. In fact, the fat that we use is used for, like you said, hormones. It's used for, our brain is made up of
Yes.
fat. Our cell walls are made up of fat. Our nervous system is made up of fat. So whenever we go on a fat-free diet, and I've also done that in the past, because that was the fat diet at the time. So I understand what it is like to look at everything for 99% fat-free and all of that. But if we do this, we are seriously damaging our body. And in order to get those fats back when we start eating the fat, again, it'll take another year or two, because your body now has to recreate all those cells using a good quality fat. So any of these changes takes time, but the best time to start is right now, right? The ideal time would have been 10 years ago, but next best time is right now. So you please start these habits that we're talking about, making sure that there is fat coming into your system, making sure, like you said in the last podcast, make sure good quality ghee is coming in, right? You said almonds are a great source of fat. Any other good source of fat that people should be thinking of?
Like all the nuts, peanuts, walnuts, all the nuts that is out there, or like, because nowadays more people are not looking into dairy. People are not keen of dairy anymore, but yeah, dairy is a good fat, and all the oils, like ghee is one of the best fat Ayurveda recommends. But if you are not so keen of ghee, then sesame oil, olive oil, these are all some amazing great fats out there. And yeah, simplest things like nuts. And other thing is, iron is one key ingredient that women lack. I think 80% of the women out there have iron deficiency, and they don't realize that
Absolutely.
they're not absorbing iron well. So another important ingredient for our hormones and for the whole reproductive system, women's health, is to include iron foods like dates, just eating one or, like 3 to 4 dates every day. And and the other sources like, broccoli, steamed spinach, steamed kale, these are all good sources. Sesame seeds, some amazing sources of iron. But as women, I think, because, this is where the conflict is, because we are more focused upon how our looks are outside, and not how you feel inside, or how you are feeling healthy, whether you are feeling active, or whether you're feeling energy levels, whether your skin is glowing, are you happy from inside out. These are the factors that decide a person is healthy, not the number that shows on the weight scale or um, other things. But I think we have a long way to go there. But what I'm trying to say is, it's good that if you want to be fit and all, I'm not saying it's bad, but also look at, you are getting all the whole natural things and you're feeling energetic, you're not tired. No matter how healthy, fit a person looks, if they're feeling tired every other hour, it doesn't mean they are healthy, right? So it's important to have that differentiation between being fit and being healthy. The key difference. And eat a healthy food, include all the important things. Yeah, I think the key difference. And eat a healthy food, include all the important things. Yeah, I think
there's an important aspect here, Dr. Varalakshmi, which is when you spoke about iron. One is getting iron into your stomach, but the second is being able to digest the iron and that iron absorption. A lot of women also have an issue with iron absorption, correct? So what is happening with iron absorption and how can they improve that?
yes. So women, or usually if you are on a vegetarian diet, or people who eat more plants and all, iron can be a little bit, the sources of iron that we are getting from plant is more difficult to digest for our body compared to meat. Like, meat, because we are also part of animal, we can quickly digest the iron from the animal meat or animal products. So what I say is, if you are drinking or eating more spinach, these kind of things, including something like citrus along with it, like citric acid, like, a little bit of lemon juice on the, when you are having a salad, steamed, spinach and kale salad, try to sprinkle a little bit of lemon, or include, or eat a orange or something after you have a bowl of something with iron food. Then that would help our body to properly absorb the iron. But there are some conditions, specific health conditions, which make some women vulnerable, or they have a naturally physiology which affects their iron absorption. For them, they do need some treatment, specific treatment and all. But this is the natural general suggestion, basically.
Is it that if you've always had an iron deficiency, you'll have iron deficiency for the rest of your life? Or is it that you can actually change it? Is it that should you be blaming your genes for it? Or is it something that you can actually change with lifestyle choices?
Of course, the diet and lifestyle choices, absolutely. There are, like, again, like sickle cell anemia is a kind of condition or a disease where they will have it. Like, if you have that gene and if you are, have a condition like that, you will have a problem, and they need to get iron infusions and things like that. But if you don't have any kind of health condition and it is something to do with your diet, yeah, once you change your diet and do a good exercise as part of your routine and not strain yourself too much, things like these lifestyle changes and all, then you can definitely, become have a good iron levels in your body.
Lovely. What is the next thing that we should think about when we think about women's health? So, Dr. Varalakshmi, topic that we were discussing, which was menopause, right? Which is something that you were saying that it is not so easily spoken of in India. We don't really know what's happening. Can you tell us a little bit about how we should at least start thinking about menopause and approaching it?
So, because, menopause, the name itself suggests that there is no menstruation. And, what happens is that nowadays, in my experience, we are seeing the menopause at a very early age. Like by 40, 45, some women are already facing the menopause. But general guidelines, or in general, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it was like 45 to 55 years. Is 45 years is the stage where perimenopause, or the all the hormonal changes that are happening before the menopause hits starts happening from 45, and by someone reaches 50 or 55, they will hit the menopause. But now it has gone 10 years back. Like by 40, somebody is already facing, like, all the changes perimenopause has done, and they are entering the menopause. So which indicates that whatever the lifestyle that we are leading and the amount of stress that is on our body, or women in general, has made us to enter menopause very early. There are a couple of problems here, because one is lack of understanding. Because few health problems that women face at menopause include like osteoporosis, like the bones become very weak and brittle, and they can suffer fractures kind of problems. And the other one is like weight gain. Some women, the metabolism can become very, very weak or low, and they start to gain more weight and struggle to lose weight because of all the low estrogen in the body. And the other thing is, some women have emotional problems like the mood swings. Same way what happens before the period comes when the estrogen is low. Similarly, during menopause, emotional health of a woman is severely, deteriorated. And also, like, they can go through all the psychological problems as well, like, feeling too much happy sometimes, or feeling very low, depression. So, as a whole, if women go through all these symptoms without even realizing that actually it's something, is a natural change is going on in their body, that's why they're facing this, then it becomes even more confusing for people in their life, like the support structure, men or kids or whoever. They don't even understand why my mom is getting suddenly angry, or why she's feeling so low for something I didn't say anything. So it's very important, and few changes that for to identify would be having irregularities in their period. Like the period can stop for some women, or less than 2 to 3 periods in a year. So for the whole 1 year, they might be getting, 3 to 4 times or even 3 times. So these are all the key signs, and they can feel like joints and aches and pains in their main joints in their body, especially knees, shoulders, and hips. So those joints, they can have like nagging pain every now and then. So these are key factors, and important thing is to change their diet and lifestyle to suit these changes.
What are the things that people should do?
So, for example, including more calcium foods. So, like drinking milk, warm milk every day, because dairy is biggest source of calcium. Eating, regularly yogurt, or including, yogurt and cheese in their diet. And sesame seeds are another good source of calcium. Things like cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cabbage, they also contain good amount of calcium. And then healthy fats, because that is another aspect as well, which will women need to, because they can become weak and they will feel, to put it like the whole body as a whole is drying and dehydrating. So it's like aging stage of the body for even for men and women. But for women this is more because estrogen is a huge component for the whole reproductive system or women's health. Because estrogen goes down, they have all these problems women face. So it's important to include the healthy fats as well.
Perimenopause, again, is it something that people can just pass straight from without perimenopause straight to menopause? Or is it actually a journey that you will have to go through?
So, yes, one thing here is that, again, there is a misconception here. Women think that menopause, like when they read about the menopause symptoms like osteoporosis and all these problems, weight gain and all, they start to compare themselves, thinking that I will go through all these symptoms and I'll have a very bad time and all that. But what I would recommend anybody is to, if you prepare for a better transition, or if you are doing all the good things like eating a proper diet, exercising well and all, there is no guarantee to say that every woman out there will go through all the symptoms and they have a bad time in menopause. There are some women who don't even actually realize that menopause came and went by, and they'll be completely fine except for the period part. So what I am trying to say is menopause is again a natural physiology, and whatever the symptoms that we are seeing are considered as like a illness or like something which is not right in the body. So with the right diet and lifestyle, and with the help of certain medicine or herbs, you can have a good time, or you don't need to dread the menopause as well.
Any herbs or any medicine people should start thinking of if they realize they're going through menopause?
Yeah, so one Ayurvedic herb that is considered as a rasayana for women of any age and especially for menopause is Shatavari. Shatavari is an amazing herb. Even if somebody starts taking like 1 teaspoon with, before going to bed with warm milk, it will act as a rasayana to balance all the doshas, or to nourish the reproductive system. So they can start taking, by once they hit 40 or so, and it will actually help them to have a better transition, during the menopause.
Shatavari is one thing that people should start thinking about. Anything else food wise that they must add into their diet? Or do you think just a healthy diet or no overall?
So fats like sesame seeds, nuts and almonds and all, and calcium, which we covered about, and iron. Iron is also important because same thing happens once the hormones go through the turmoil, we can experience nutritional abnormalities. It can be rare, but I do see this women suffering with iron deficiency as well, and energy levels. So having a good rest or trying to include more breaks or things, because just like the menstruation, as per Ayurveda, menopause is considered as a stage of our aging where Vata is dominant. So Ayurveda recommends us to have a nurturing, or nourishing lifestyle and diet, which can help us to go through the transition better. So including more self-care, taking care of yourself, because ideally that is the time when we have no responsibilities, right? As a mother, or as, even for retiring, then you're supposed to just sit and enjoy your life at that time. So
I love it. This is actually an opportunity for self-care and making it probably the healthiest time of your life instead of thinking that, oh, my body is giving up on me, which is often how people start thinking about it. They have a negative outlook to it because we think that, oh, now over the hill, everything is over, nothing to worry about. Instead, this is the opportunity for you to start thinking about how you can take care of your health better and see it that way.
yes, absolutely. They do experience dryness and things like that, which is again a sign to say that all the body fluids or nourishment is slowly declining now. So that's why the healthy fats, ghee is an amazing anti-inflammatory, and also for our reproductive system and our brain as well. So I would say try to include all these things. And yeah, like you said, instead of thinking it as a like, end of the life or everything, my life is now at the end stage, I have to give up. Try to think of it as a time that you have best to utilize and use it for, self-care and loving yourself.
Lovely, lovely. Dr. Varalakshmi, thank you so much for this conversation. I absolutely loved it. It was fascinating. So many interesting things to learn. Doctor, how can people get in touch with you? How can people either consult with you or follow you and see the fantastic work that you're doing?
So you can follow me on my Instagram handle, which is @Dr. Varalakshmi, and I do offer online consultations and everything. So just get in touch via DMs. And yeah, I do share a lot of information about women. So go through it. Thank you so much for having me, Ashdin. I had a great time, and I love your view and our conversation as a whole. Yes.
Thank you so much. It was a blast. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So start these habits and share with us your progress using the hashtag #TheHabitCoach. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on social media. We are @IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, I am Ashdin Doc on Twitter and Instagram. You can find lots more information on my website, awesome180.com, or check out different content on my YouTube channel called AWESOME180. That's Awesome 180.